Does anyone want to take a guess what makes this book so valuable? Yet I always see people leaving it behind and others like it. So that I could come right on by, scoop it up, flip it on eBay, and make a nice profit. If you think you know, you could hit the pause button and put a guess down below in the comments. Audience participation does count in this episode, so I will be looking afterwards and grading. Maybe I'll give some gold stars out here and there. Or if you want, you could, if you have your camera on, you could make a guess by raising your hand, and I'll call on you. So see a lot of pause screens, a lot of people typing. That's good. That's good. Anyone want to raise their hand and give me an answer? Diana, yeah. What do you think? Because it's a first edition or a first printing. That is a good guess. Sometimes, as I'll explain, that does play a role, but you actually have to open the book up and look inside to figure that out. And this is something, it's a feature that you can tell from the outside. So does anyone have a guess on something from the outside that you could tell on this? Anyone? You are all so shy. Does anyone want to raise their hand? Let me see. Mary, I knew I could count on you, Mary. All right, what do you say? Because it's old. That's another awesome guess, because yes, you can tell from the outside that this book is old. You could tell it's vintage. It has some discoloration on it, some shelf wear. It's got a little bit of peeling on it. Even along the spine of the book, you could see that. And that sometimes plays a role as well. But as I'll show you, sometimes new versions of books that have this feature also sell for really well. So that's not the only thing. That's not the main thing I'm looking for. Take one more guess, then I promise I will give you the answer. One more guess. No one's raising their hand. Carl's about ready to shoot Julie with a spitball because of the comic auctions, I bet. Hey, Carl, cut that out. Cut that out, or I'm going to send you to the principal's office again. Yeah, what is it? He wasn't listening. See, what is it about this book from the outside that makes it valuable? No, it's not because it's green like Godzilla. He's always thinking about Godzilla, always putting Godzilla emojis in the chats and everything. No, that's not the reason. The reason is because it has a slip cover, also known as a slip case, sometimes referred to as a box, but usually a slip case or slip cover. And the reason why, especially for these old ones, that people leave them behind is because look at it. It looks so boring and dull. There's no images on the outside. There's nothing that easily identifies what it is. Yes, you can look at the spine of the book to see the title, but a lot of times they're faded out and you can't really tell well. And in addition to that, a lot of times when people put these back, they put them in like this. So now you're in a situation where you really can't tell at all what it is unless you actually open it up and take it out. And that is a key thing to keep in mind, because as silly as this sounds, just the fact that someone has to do some extra work is often enough to lead them to leave the item behind. Same thing with posters. That's why I was talking about those. People don't want to open them up and explore and see what's inside of them. So, these being inside of the case, having to be taken out, extra step, another thing that contributes to people leaving them behind. Now, in terms of value, keep in mind that books that are put inside of slip cases, slip covers, boxes, they're often put in them because there's something special about them. Sometimes it's because they're a set that go together and they were specifically published that way. Other times, as was guessed earlier, is that it's a first edition. Sometimes it's because it's a first printing. Sometimes it's because it's a limited edition. Only 300 might have been made. Only 1,000 might have been made. Sometimes it's because there's a signature inside. Sometimes the signature is by the artist who made some art in the book. And that's another point, is that sometimes there's some nice art inside. There's color art. Sometimes there's wood engraving type of art inside. Sometimes there's a signature by the author. And if the author is deceased, that could really help raise the value of the book. Sometimes there's a silk bookmark in there that's attached to it. All of these things contribute to adding value to the book. The other thing is that since it's put inside of a slipcase, that slipcase, as long as it was kept inside of there for most of the time, offers some degree of protection, as opposed to if the slipcase got lost or damaged and then all you had was the book itself. Well, that's going to help protect it, help preserve it, and help increase the value, usually compared to not having the slipcase. Sometimes there's some exceptions to it, but normally, as a general rule of thumb, that is the case. Now, there's one other thing, and this goes to what Mary was saying about it, about it being old, is that it doesn't have a barcode on it. So if you're an Amazon FBA scanner and you're going through an estate sale or a library book sale and you're trying to find things really quickly at value, you don't want to be slowed down, you're not going to stop for slipcover slipcase books. But if you know about these, then this is something you should stop for. Even if you are an Amazon FBA guy, stop for these types of things and look at them. Let me show you an example on a recent video. I'll show you where I found this and something else. I'll show you some comps and things like that. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. And this is an estate sale that I went to recently. And here you can see the book that I was just holding in my hands right there on the bottom, left behind by an Amazon FBA seller who was in the house before me. I saw all the other books that he got when he walked past me. None of them were slipcover books. He tended to go towards the modern ones, the ones with barcodes on them. So here you could see me, looking for the age and stuff like that. And you go to the video and I talk about some other features of the book. But this one here, now this one is not even an excuse that it was on the bottom shelf, because that's another thing. If it's on the bottom shelf, people don't want to squat down. But this one here, you could easily just grab it. All you got to do is move your arm down a little bit. And again, we're dealing with this boring green color. Sometimes there are other colors, not always green, like Godzilla. But here you could see we've got Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre by the Brontes. Now there, you could see what the titles are, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Look what happens though when you open it up. Look at that nice art that's on the outside. If someone would just take that out, then that would give them an additional clue that, hey, this is something that's valuable. You open it up, it's from 1943. I picked that up for like $1 or $2, and here you could see I sold it just yesterday. I actually took a best offer, sold it for $50. So that's a $1 to $2 pickup, flipped easily for $50, left behind again by an Amazon FBA seller before I got into the room. Both of them are left behind. What about the Whitman one that I just showed here? This is Walt Whitman, Leaves of Grass. Well, this is the only one I'm going to show you that I haven't sold yet, but I have a lot of watchers on it. I have it up for $80. And I do expect it to sell for somewhere between $50 and $80, just based on my knowledge of the comps and of the book and that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens with it. You can see here I do some zoom ups of some close-up shots of some of the art that's inside, both the black and white and of the color, just giving people a sense of what it looks like in there. And whatever you could find inside these books that is what contributes to value, you want to make sure that you take some pictures of that and show that in your listing. Now, if it does not have the slipcover or slipcase, you could see here. Now, this is actually a sold price right here. This is the highest that it has ever sold for without the slipcase on it. So that's about $30, $24 plus $4 shipping. So it's about half of what I would say you would get if it had the slipcover. So sometimes that slipcover could really double the value for you. So that's important to keep in mind. Sometimes with smaller books, because sometimes there are smaller paperback books that will come inside of sometimes people will call them slipcases because you can slip them out, but more generally people call them box sets, but it's the same type of concept. These are usually reserved for trilogies, but sometimes people will put even more books in that. They'll put 5 books in there. It just depends. And the other interesting thing about it is that sometimes they will be mistaken for VHS tapes. So you can see here, this is a estate sale you might remember I went to also in October, and look on the shelf. You see it says VHSs $1 each. Next to the one I'm about to grab, they are all VHS tapes except for this. But that led them to market lower than the books were priced. So I was actually able to grab this for $1. Now, during checkout, I do tell them, hey, I found this by the VHS section, but they just say, all right, we'll just give it to you for $1. So it's great. So that was that. Now let me go to a non-green type of book. And I could put up, by the way, I could put up a lot of examples of slipcover books that sell in the thousands of dollars, but I just decided I'd put things that are perhaps more realistic to what you can normally find. This is something that does pop up from time to time. It's Edward Hopper's book set here. And if you haven't heard of Edward Hopper, he's a famous artist. He did a lot of art that had to do with isolation. This is why it does pay to try to get to know some artist name, because if you saw this, in addition to it having a slip cover on or a slip case, that could give you some clue that this has some value. This did sell for around $900. I used to have this art piece, Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, hanging down the staircase when I used to come down to Primetime Treasure headquarters. Actually, I had this hanging up in college. I love this scene. It's just a really cool scene of the diner, and like I said, the isolation. It's really cool. He's really famous. So anything you see, if you ever come across any Edward Hopper stuff, pick it up. But inside, it's got all sorts of cool stuff, and it's a complete 4-volume set. Lots of good images of the art and things like that. And it's old. You can see the difference here. If it's not complete, now this is a 3 volumes out of the 4 and no slipcase. Make sure, by the way, when you put your pictures that you put them in the correct orientation. But right now, and I actually think this actually is a sold price. Actually, this sold for only $50. So look at the difference. You have a complete set and you have the slipcover, and this slipcover will definitely make a big deal. That's going to really raise the value up there for you. So let's just say, for example, you're out at the sale and maybe you don't even see this part of it, like that has the words on it. You just see the other side, which I don't think I could show you here because I don't think they have it. But, again, it's just going to look boring. It's going to look like a boring red box. But start exploring that stuff if you're passing that stuff by. Here's another example, The Land and Water Salmon Flies by George Kelson. This is a good example of something that's it's a limited edition. So if you scroll down towards the description section, you'll see here that there were only 1,000 copies made, and it's 128 pages, and there's 85 color photos in there. So this is going to appeal to people who like books. It's also going to appeal to people who like fishing. And here you can see there's all these different, fishing pictures and stuff that are inside of there. So also, sometimes it'll have a fancier binding inside, like this is a leather binding with some gilding on it. So that's another thing that'll sometimes happen with these slipcase books. So that's another thing to keep an eye out for. It's another good example of something that looks really boring from the outside. I mean, look at that slipcover. Would that interest you in any way? If that's all you saw, is that what a lot of people just tend to pass that by. So if you open it up, though, look what you would find in here. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? Look at this. You've got signatures in here. You've got a copy number in here. You've actually got multiple signatures. That's absolutely amazing. By the author and everything. It's really cool. By George Bird Evans, and this is a $120 book, but it's something that you could realistically find just laying around in a slipcase and pick up for just $1 somewhere. And by just doing that exploring, by having that knowledge that this is a slipcase book, boom, you've now got a nice big sale on your hands. Now, this is why I always go over to kids sections, because if you want to make some money in reselling, one of the things is getting involved in things that have nostalgia. And what better area to find nostalgia than kids' books? A lot of people pass up kids' books because they think, oh, they're just, for little kids currently. But remember, people want to go back and grab something from their past that they had when they were a kid. So this is a good example, something that if I saw, I would instantly pick up in 2 seconds. Now, this is one that sometimes people would just pass it up because it's kids. But this one stands out more because it is colorful and bright, but you could tell it's vintage from the lettering and from the art. Do not pass this type of stuff up. There's some Jessie Shop's Butterflies right up top. Give her a little bit of a shout out there. And, people love for these types of slip covers. This is something they love to display. So, put it on top of a bookcase or on a bookcase or somewhere else. I love displaying my slipcover books that have this art on the outside of it. They really enjoy it. So that one, $125 sale for that. I think there was a best offer accepted, but still wound up selling for a decent price. Here is it. The same books without. Now, I don't think this has all of them. This has 4 of the 5. No, is it 4? I think no, it's all 4. So here's the difference. So this is 4 on auction without the slipcase. Look at the difference right there in price. $17.99 plus $4.99 shipping. That is a massive difference, and that's what a slipcase will often do. Now, I actually have this right here. This is the complete Calvin and Hobbes. I love Calvin and Hobbes. This is my personal copy of this exact set, the complete set. If you love Calvin and Hobbes like me, let me know down in the comment section. I got a lot of my silliness from reading the Calvin and Hobbes. But here you can see with the slip cover, and this isn't even a sealed one. Like sealed ones even sell for more. This is $150. Now, if you don't have the slip cover, you'll still do okay. You get $68 plus $12 shipping, so like $80. But again, look at that. The slip cover is pretty much doubling the value. Now, this is one that has some decent display value to it. Not quite as fancy as that other one that I showed you in terms of like all the art and stuff on it, but it's still very nice. And I like to have this one to display. So this is what I meant earlier, that the newer versions of books with slip covers still sell. It's not just that it's old. Another example here, this is the last example, Songs of Distant Earth by Arthur C. Clarke. This is a slipcase book, but look at this. This could easily be missed. And look at the side. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said that sometimes, even if you could see the binding, that you can't tell what it is just from looking at it, because this one has been faded out. So you'd actually have to open it up and look inside, and look what you will see. You will see the numbering and you will see the signature. By the way, very important, do not miss the back of the book. Make sure you look in the back of the book for signatures. Remember when I sold my Hunchback of Notre Dame book that I bought for $10 at the flea market? That was also a slipcase book. I sold it for $300, and the signature was in the back of one of the books by the artist who is now deceased. So that was a $300 flip, and just important things you don't want to pass up. If you have a different version of the book, still an older one, 1980s, but doesn't have a slip cover, not that fancier version. Even though, by the way, which one? Just look at that. Now you can see this one only sold for $5.99 plus $4.20 shipping. This is the highest that this has sold for. Okay, look at this. What would draw you more to it if you're just doing it based on visuals, right? Just based on art. This one is more attracting than this over here, which is just a boring blue color. But for me, when I go out and I'm searching, I see slipcase, instantly I'm drawn to it. Box set, I'm always drawn to it. Always want to see it. So I hope that this is helpful. Hope that it's adding some value for you. And hope that you check out slip covers when you see them. And before you go, make sure you also check out Jessica's store at Wildcat Supply Unlimited is her eBay store. I've checked it over before. She's got a lot of cool things over there. I'm going to put a link to it in the description section and in the comments. She is a member of this channel, and all members do get their channel they get a, not their channel, but they get their eBay store listed in the description section and in the comments. And if I could fit it into a video, I try to do that as well. So thank you for everybody who is a member, and I will get to everyone eventually. If you're a member, make sure you send me an email message, and I will get you up in one of these videos at some point. So that's it for this one, everybody. I hope that, again, that it was helpful. If so, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Preferably hit that like button and comment. That gives the video extra help. And I'll see you all at the next one. Take care.